It seems 2022 just couldn't end without taking a few more notable names away from us. And one of the big ones, of course, as a lot of you know, was Barbara Walters. And I can tell you that even though she started in the 60s, when my mom was a teen, late 50s, early 60s, like I said, when my mom was a teen, and really just grew from there and became who she was. For me and my sisters and my cousins, seeing her report the news or even do those specials, the Barbara Walters specials, in the 80s and throughout the 90s, that's what really engraved her to us, throughout that time, and engraved her to us Gen Xers, if you will, because of the fact that when 2020 would come on with her and Hugh Downs, sometimes a lot of us would be getting ready for bed. Because it was either a school night. Well, actually, it wasn't a school night. Mostly 2020 was on Friday nights, but still, we'd still be going to bed early because, heck, the next day we wanted to get up and watch Saturday morning cartoons, so you couldn't blame us. But when it came to the Barbara Walters specials, those were like I said, our introduction to her, because it engraved her, into our souls, into our memories. And it's all because of who she would interview, and sometimes the interviews that she would have with certain people, it went over our heads, because we were young and we were like, okay, what are they talking about? It's like, hey, I'm glad to see, this so-and-so is, on television and everything, because, and doing an interview or doing whatever they're doing, with this lady. But, sometimes the subjects went over our head and everything. So it was one of those situations to where, we got to know her, through these specials, even though some of the subjects would go over our heads, if and we couldn't understand or kind of take in what was being talked about or being discussed and everything. But as we got older, we started to get more of an appreciation, because I think Barbara realized that that out of the 40,000 plus viewers, or 40 million plus viewers that were watching these specials, I think over time she realized, because, you got to realize she was an adoptive mom. She adopted her daughter. And being a mom, I think her daughter allowed her to realize, especially I think she became a grandmother. I'm not really sure. But I think her daughter helped her realize, and even through the generation through her daughter, helped Barbara realize, out of these 40 million viewers that I'm getting with these specials or whatever, or 40,000 viewers I'm getting with these specials, I think she probably came to the conclusion that part of that viewership came from the younger viewers, came from people like me, came from people like my sisters, my cousins. And that's why I think she started to incorporate interviews from a variety standpoint. Like, sometimes the Barbara Walters specials wouldn't be, just one person going on and going into an interview with her for about an hour or two or whatever. Sometimes she would divide it up, with different segments, targeted towards, the family. And I do recall one time and they even showed a photo of this when they were doing a montage at the beginning of the documentary special, the tribute last night. They showed her hugging Leonardo of the Ninja Turtles, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that, because she did I don't know if it was part of her special, part of a movie, one of her Barbara Walters specials for, the end of the year or movies or whatever. But I remember one of the interviews she did in that special was with the Ninja Turtles. She basically played it out like she was going down into the sewers and interviewing the TMNT, and these were the TMNTs that were from Ninja Turtles 2, from the second movie. So that's why she was going down to interview them. Boy, if she only knew that 2 years later, the third movie that they'd be part of would tank them, at that time. But, well, not tank them, but really just not make it so, easy to want to go back to live action, if you will. But to me, again, I remember that interview, and she's done a lot of interviews like that, with other family-oriented people, or characters, in character or not. She's done a lot with them. And the one thing that I think a lot of us can appreciate with Barbara when it came to these specials, or these special interviews that were part of 2020 or whatever, is she would basically, hold nothing back. She was very serious. She could be fun-loving and everything. I mean, they showed her doing a dance with Patrick Swayze. I think that was around the time that Dirty Dancing had just come out. They showed her interviewing Richard Pryor, Clint Eastwood, Robin Williams, and just having fun with them and everything. But also getting, down to business, getting serious, with them on certain subjects. And of course, in this tribute documentary, they did talk about the interview that's probably considered the most watched interview of all time with Monica Lewinsky. And honestly, I didn't even know about that. I mean, I knew she was going to interview her. I just didn't think it was going to be the most watched. But they said that was an example of going through all the different, facial features and expressions, and basically, not just going through those, but going through the different emotions of, humor, rage, understanding, sadness and everything, and all that, when it came to Lewinsky. So they said that was a prime example. Like, if you want to take notes on how to do a good interview with somebody, like if you land somebody like a Lewinsky, or you land somebody who could we put out there today, like a Nick Carter, to get his side of the stories with his allegations and all that, and then what happened with his brother, people are saying, take a look at what she did with Monica Lewinsky, take notes from that, and use that as your template to, get the interview, right the first time and not have to worry about anything. Just the fact that she was no nonsense at times. Like, she can have fun and everything, but she was no nonsense. Was a unique feature, was a unique quality and feature in any interviewer at that time, or even nowadays, because of the fact that she did not hold nothing back. And one thing that was true that they mentioned in the documentary, in the tribute, and I saw this with a lot of the specials that I'd be able to watch or get a chance to watch, she always found a way to get people to confess the legit reason as to why they did what they did. Her interviewing the guy that killed John Lennon, getting him to admit why he did it, and everything. Digging in and finding out about things that some of the people she was interviewing, like the celebrities, didn't even know about until she brought it up, and it surprised them. So Barbara was definitely one of a kind. There's no doubt. And again, like I said, for people like me, we were introduced to her mostly through the Barbara Walter specials. I mean, if we did stay up late enough, and this would mostly be like during the summer maybe, just to watch 2020, it would be because maybe one of the interviews she would be doing would be something that the kids would want to see, like I said, with the Ninja Turtles. So, to look back on this lady's career and say that she wasn't the greatest interviewer and anchor and and journalist and what's the one I'm looking for? Correspondent, if you will, in the business. To say she wasn't any of that, basically being the number one person out there that you, with a man or woman in that business, in that field, wants to take after, would be another statement, because she was that person. She was that person. Even people that were working around the same time she was, Ted Koppel, I should say, and a few others, and even Hugh Dowds, I think, have all said that she is the GOAT of, news media, of the interview, of journalism, of doing your homework when it comes to wanting to get down to the nitty gritty of the story or the interview with the person you're talking to. So she was all that and more. And then when she did The View, I'll admit, I was living in Kansas at the time when she was doing The View, and I was entering my senior year in high school. Okay? So I didn't get to watch much of The View, if at all. But I do recall that when I moved out on my own, I got to, watch a little bit of it, just flipping through channels in my apartment just to see what was on. And I would see a side of Barbara I've never seen before. There were some times, she would do things on The View like they showed in the tribute that I didn't think we'd ever see from her. But she was also, when it came to The View, part of a lot of controversy as well, like Meredith Vieira's situation, Rosie O'Donnell's situation, some of the Whoopi situations before, Barbara left The View. There was a lot of these controversial moments that, people would come to her and ask her, what happened. And I don't think Barbara ever held anything back when it came to certain controversial moments with the person that was chosen to be the moderator, or one of the co-hosts that she'd be sitting next to. She would hold nothing back when it came to any controversy surrounding them and everything. And she was always accepting of whoever would step in and take over. So, it just shows the kind of person that she was overall. And the fact that when she did finally decide to step away from 2020 in 2004, and then 10 years later step away from The View, but still continuously want to contribute, shows the fact that you could be retired but still do what you love. Me and my sisters always kind of suggest to my mom, you need to consider, hanging it up. And my mom has considered it, but she still loves to teach. And, she has talked about the fact, or even suggested the fact, that if she was to do that, she'd still want to teach. And that probably the opportunity comes with her great-granddaughter, my great-niece. But, that's just something she's thinking about. She'll want, she knows when she does step away, she'll still want to do what she's doing now. To kind of keep her going. And that's kind of what Barbara did. She basically continued being a journalist, a reporter, an interviewer, and everything, even after she stepped away from The View. And the tribute they gave her on The View, and you can find it on YouTube, was unreal. I mean, bringing in all those ladies that were influenced by her, inspired by her to, become who they are in the media of news and journalism and tabloids and all that, and talk shows, was unbelievable to see. I mean, they had Kathy Lee Gifford on there. They had Lisa Ling, who a lot of people love. They had Connie Chung. I mean, honestly, when you go back and you watch that moment here on YouTube, and her and Connie Chung embrace, I think out of all the applause and pops that each of the embrace and hugs that she got from each and every one of those women that came there, including Hoda. Hoda was there, if you will. Savannah Guthrie was there. Diane Sawyer was there. Katie Couric was there. But the moment her and Connie embraced, I swear to you, the applause got louder, because you were seeing two iconic women in this industry embracing, coming together. And that to me is a moment that will never be replicated again. Never replicated again. Because you even have someone like Connie Chung, who I grew up with, basically coming out and saying Barbara was her inspiration. That's saying something. And then you also had before that Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey coming out and, acknowledging Barbara as her inspiration. And even saying in an interview that Barbara did with her years ago that she wanted to be like Barbara. In 1970 when she was 16 and she had won some kind of pageant, she said she wanted to be a journalist like Barbara Walters. So to say the impact that this woman had, on the news media industry and on multiple generations, including my own and my sister's own and my cousin's own. Basically, me and my cousins and siblings own would be, not doing this lady justice, because she had that kind of an impact. And I don't think anybody would argue that even today. And I guarantee you this, those that grew up in the 90s and grew up in the 2000s and even the 2010s, who got to see some of these specials as they continued on and saw her on The View and saw her kind of correspond and be there for certain events and everything, would agree with that as well. They would. So, in the end, I want to say thank you, Barbara, for everything you gave to us throughout multiple generations. You will be missed. There will be not another like you. There will be people that will try to be like you, there will be others that will try to be like you, but there will not be, honest to God, another Barbara Walters, period. And I think we can all agree with that. That others may try, but they will never, reach the bar that she set, in journalism and in the news media when it came to interviews and all that, and reporting, because she set that bar so high, it's unattainable, in my opinion. So thank you, Barbara. You will be missed. And I guarantee you, anybody that wants to watch her specials can probably tune in to ABC On Demand. They could probably tune in to Disney Plus. They could probably tune in to YouTube, and they can find them. They can find them and enjoy them. But let me know what your memories are, Barbara, guys. Comment below, live chat during the premiere, like the video. You will get an audio podcast version of this down the line as well. And until then, also support me at Venmo at Brian-Wilmer-2, Cash App at BWRoses98. I could really use it now in that area, guys, because my hours are not going to be as much as they used to be because it's the beginning of the year. But let me know what your thoughts are on Barbara. Also support me over at Patreon.com at BWRoses, the $1, $3 tier. Also Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. Support me over at VENMO for content you can't get anywhere else. And until next time, guys, again, give me your memories, your thoughts, and I am out.